Trump's arraignment was the major news that has been happening this week that everyone's been fixated on. Isn't that right, Mike?
Yeah, the circus came to New York on Tuesday. I don't think it's left fully, and we're now seeing the whole world. I don't know if anybody knows if anything else is going on in the news.
Well, there's probably something super secret happening behind the scenes, or like some piece of news that they're distracting you with Trump's arraignment and hoping that you won't notice. Maybe your taxes are going up or something. Um, well, no, I know that they're not. But anyway, so yeah, Trump's arraignment. I think it was. Well, there's a lot of stuff to unpack here. Obviously, he's got 34 felony charges. I think probably people have heard a lot of this already. Stormy Daniels actually did a video with an interview on Piers Morgan, which is kind of a little bit ridiculous. She got a sit-down interview with beautiful lighting, and they made it look amazing. Um, and it was funny, yeah, what Megyn Kelly said, because I know you posted this as well. This was some analysis that Megyn Kelly said. So in the interview, Stormy Daniels says that she refers to Trump's crimes against her, which is pretty ridiculous because there isn't really a crime, at least not against her, even if this payment, ends up being prosecuted as a crime. There's no crime actually against Stormy Daniels. So Megyn Kelly says, aren't you the one who had an affair with a married man after a lifetime starring in flicks such as Summer Hummer? I guess that was one of her adult movies. And then try to extort the man before he ran for president 10 years after your alleged interlude. I thought that was kind of amusing.
No, it's hysterical to really think about. That this again, the circus. That's the best way to describe what we're talking about. Is that it's really just a circus. It's a bunch of people trying to prelude on things that aren't really interesting, things that are barely crimes. The Department of Justice, the federal investigators didn't want to take this on at all. So Alvin brags over here and says, "Yep, I'm going to take it on now. We'll see how it goes. We'll bring on 34 counts of business fraud." And when you look at it in retrospective, there's so many people right now that are in Manhattan that are committing more ridiculous crimes than there was prior to Bragg's involvement as the district attorney there. And the amount of money that was spent to bring this arraignment, I mean, I think we're going to do an actual scripted show on it, but my numbers are reaching into the millions just in the state of New York, like how much money it cost to actually bring Trump on arraignment.
But didn't Bragg called in I think 34,000 or 33,000 NYPD officers, didn't he, for the day?
35,000 NYPD officers were in uniform for this event. That is ridiculous. The average salary of an NYPD police officer is $82,000 a year. So now Bragg, we'll figure it's $300 a day. So 35,000 times $300. You're reaching $1 million just for the police officers to come in. So, and then the barricades were put out a week prior, and then you have Bragg's salary. Bragg's one of the highest paid officials in the state of New York.
And he's been working on this not just the day, but for weeks or months.
Right. His average daily pay is $800. So if they give you a perspective from his salary that he has there, and then Merchan, the judge, he makes $210,000 a year, which is $100,000 above the average judge salary in the United States. So it's we know it's Manhattan. Manhattan's not cheap to live in, and I get it. But to literally make 100% more than the average judge seems a bit odd. Just on the back end. Now, I haven't researched any other financial income that they receive from other businesses outside of their day-to-day jobs, but I'm sure it's there. So
yeah.
So
it's costing the city a lot of money, and it may really end up just being a kind of frivolous case, because it seems like really, I mean, I was listening to some analysis the other day, and that the person was saying Biden should really pardon him. If Biden wants to show that this isn't a banana republic, and we play by the rules here and stuff. Like, he should literally just pardon Trump, and say, hey, 2024, may the best man win, you know? But I think that just obviously he's not going to do that. And it just shows how much is riding on this, you know, how polarized and, you know, at each other they are. Yeah,
Well, before Trump got out of office, people were saying, he should pardon himself, right?
they
So,
were.
yeah. So Trump pardons Little Wayne before he gets out of office, and there's conversation of
Wait, he
like,
pardoned, what did he pardon Little Wayne for?
I don't know. The guy's always got some charges going against him, guns, drugs. I don't know. He did 8 months in Rikers at one time for gun charges. Here's this, probably worth 9 figures or more. But anyway, he pardons Little Wayne, and for whatever reason, I don't really know. Yeah, Kodak Black's another one. Like, why did he pardon these guys? Does he want that kind of publicity? Little Wayne endorses Donald Trump for 2024. Like, not a bad idea. I mean, that's a good, and he commutes sentences for Kwame Kilpatrick. This guy like ripped off Detroit, like for millions and millions and millions of dollars. I did not agree with that pardoning at all. You know, so I'm being from Detroit, I kind of was like, nah, this isn't right. This guy like, like was paying his family members to pick up trash that never got picked up, to give you an example, for millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see how it goes with Trump and whether or not there's going to be another fiasco. But the next court case is December 4th.
I think the media coverage of it has been very funny. Like, for example, on I was watching, the day on the evening Trump went back to Mar-a-Lago and he gave this speech in Mar-a-Lago, right? And I was like, oh, I'll tune in and check that out. And I went on YouTube and I just looked at whatever stream was showing it, right? I think it just happened to be MSNBC. And halfway through, they cut the stream. They like just went back to the studio and the guy was like not really prepared. And he was like, oh yes, Trump started talking about something that obviously they didn't want the public to hear. And so he just cuts and he's like, oh yeah, we were going to show the whole thing, but it's turned into more of a campaign rally. So yeah, we're going to cut from that. And then they said some really poorly prepared lines. It really reminded me of Chinese state-run media when during Obama's presidential speech at his inauguration, he starts talking about the communism and Nazism, right? The damage that it's done, and the Chinese state-run media cuts away, and they start saying, "Oh, what about the U.S. car industry? How is it recovering from the 2008 crisis?" Like, very poorly prepared. It was literally the exact same thing. It was very amusing and surreal. And
Rachel Maddow, this is the only thing I saw. I didn't watch it at all. I was just flicking through some stations really quick with my son, and CNN comes up and Rachel Maddow says, Trump's going to be reporting right now, but we deem what he says not newsworthy. And if anything is newsworthy that he says, we'll make sure to broadcast it. And it's like, wow, the censorship from the all medias. And, I was trying to find information that wasn't right-wing extremists or left-wing extremists on this information. And it was hard to find. It was legitimately hard to find, like, just information. How many police officers were on duty in Manhattan during Trump's arraignment? That took me like an hour and a half to get a real number, because people are saying 35,000, 36,000, 33,000. Finally,
he called all of them in, but obviously not all of them were working on the arraignment.
But they all had to be in uniform, is what I found out.
They all had to be in. Yeah.
They all had to be in uniform, therefore it's payday. So
yeah, it's going to cost them extra. Maybe you figure out what normal operating numbers are, and then you deduct the difference. You work out the difference between normal numbers and the numbers on that day, and that would be your figure.
So there's 50,000 employees of the NYPD. 35,000 of them are uniformed police officers, and then 6,000 of them are detectives, and then the other 9,000 are miscellaneous. So I figured out that they had plainclothes detectives also dress in uniform that day as well.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was pretty intense, and then they had barricades put out a week before.
And the protests didn't even look very significant. I saw some photos of it.
People.
few hundred, yeah. A few people, both for and against, not really
Yeah,
fighting each other or anything, just, just chilling.
yeah. It was 300 people protesting Trump's arraignment, saying that he shouldn't be there, and then there was 150 people saying that Trump, they're protesting against Trump. So it's pretty interesting to really see all the numbers and to evaluate what was going on. That's why I call it the circus. It was a circus. It was
Yeah.
it was just a complete abuse of public power. I mean, they could have arraigned him over Zoom. You know,
They could have done. And I think it's funny how they didn't give him the mugshot that he wanted. So he made his own. Did you see that? He's selling
yeah,
t-shirts with a with a mugshot.
yeah, they didn't give him the mugshot, and that was in the news too. That was a couple of different headlines I read where it said, Trump did not receive a mugshot.
And normally when you get arraigned, you get a mugshot, right? That's part of it.
Yeah, his attorney Blanche actually asked to not have Trump show up for.
Oh, wait, that is actually a mugshot? Is that real?
No, that looks like they put his
He
hat on.
wouldn't be wearing orange, would he? They wouldn't dress him in orange because that's what you wear in
No, that
prison
he'd be going to jail, right? He would already be incarcerated.
if he was wearing orange. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so no. But his attorneys asked that Trump not have to show up on December 4th because of the extreme cost. And Mark Sean said no, we'll treat him like everybody else.
There's really no point him showing up, though, is there? I mean, he's he's already said that he's willing to come to court and fight the case. Why did he need to show up just to be fingerprinted?
There he is, Rocky and Trump combined in one. I don't know what you're doing over there, Dom, but that's an interesting one.
That's some reworking of a photo he shared a few years ago. He put his head on Rocky's body, but then someone's turned it into a mugshot now. 8 feet. Is that 8 feet?
Yeah, 8 feet.
I like how they let him in with the boxing gloves on and the belt.
Yeah. The ego with this guy gets stronger every day. I'm curious what happens. But there is something that I just thought about that was going on in the background. DeSantis came out and said that the state of Florida will not accept a digital currency.
Oh,
yeah. He publicly came out and
central bank digital currency.
Yeah, central bank digital currency. He is rejecting it completely publicly. He said it, I don't know when, but it's in the last couple of days, as well as he called on other states to join with him and to reject the digital currency. And he mentioned cash is king. So it's interesting to think about, like, I'm all for a digital currency, but, don't eliminate cash. Digital currency is fine if you want to use it, but you don't have to. So that's interesting. That might be part of the news. Oh, yeah, okay. So it was
digital US dollar threatens financial freedom. It's true.
Yeah. And so he called on the lieutenant governor of Texas, who said, he's saying that he'll support this as well. So if he can get a group of states to come on board, then it will be interesting to see what happens, after the Fed now launches in July 1st, and then we go into
Fed now, yeah.
And then we go into the push for the digital currency. I'm curious to see if it's it's like a fight between the states and the federal government, and it's going to be an interesting next 2 years.
If the Fed could make a digital currency that doesn't inflate, then I would be all for it. Maybe it could be like Bitcoin. There's only 21 million of them or something, and we can.
Yeah, they'll never do that.
They'll never do it. It's going to be pegged to the US dollar, isn't it? Which is inflating.